Godzilla, the big nuclear monster that terrorizes Japan with his first film as a direct allegory for war and weapons advancements, i.e. nuclear weapons and such. That evolved to be a nearly 70-year-old franchise that continues to this day. You can fit 3 generations of Godzilla fans there. Crazy that happens. Like all big franchises, there are bound to be false rumors or straight up hoaxes that people buy into but later get embarrassed about. There are plenty of hoaxes or misconceptions ranging from Godzilla vs. the Devil or King Kong vs. Godzilla's double ending. There are so many, so I decided to go to Wikizilla's page about misconceptions and pretty much read out everything they have there, link in the descriptions, or just watch Wikizilla's videos on misconceptions. Anyway, let's go to the sweet pre-internet clickbait. Starring is probably the oldest false rumor on this list, the King Kong vs. Godzilla double ending myth. King Kong vs. Godzilla was a big deal at the time, having the long-kind 8th wonder of the world versus the newly titled King of the Monsters, so with the hype comes some rumors. As King Kong vs. Godzilla was being released in the United States, a fanzine called Spaceman wrote an article about the film that had one certain claim that would be repeated for several decades: the double ending myth. The claim goes like this: 2 endings have been filmed, and if you see King Kong vs. Godzilla in Japan, Hong Kong, or some oriental sector of the world, Godzilla wins. On the other hand, in the USA and England, for instance, Kong wins. Now that sounds reasonable. The Japanese have their monster win, while the Americans have theirs wins. Everyone's a winner. However, this is completely contradicted by the fact that Kong was simply the more popular monster at the time. He predated by Godzilla by more than 20 years and was seen as an icon both of the West and the East, inspiring Ichi Tsuburaya to be part of this franchise's history. While Godzilla was kinda just semi-popular and was portrayed more as a villain in that movie and repeatedly turned down Kong, so the audience want him to lose. So like 2 generations of American G fans went their entire lives that there was a secret alternative ending to this movie that was region locked only with the age of the internet to discover the ending to this American version was the actual ending to the original movie. Now, some sympathetic material did try to say the fight was at least a tie, with Tomoyuki Tanaka staying in definitive edition Godzilla introduction, but with some defensive positions to prosecute anyone who dare question their god having any losses. But ignore that, there's no proof of there's any where Godzilla wins. The only remaining question is where Spaceman even came up with this conclusion. Some people try to explain it with some minor differences in both versions, where in the original version the characters speculate that Godzilla might be alive, where in the edited version they say they hope that they saw the last of him. There's also the part where Godzilla's world was cut out from the ending of the American version, despite being in the original. So I guess these 2 minor things may have sparked the double ending myth. You have to search a lot to believe direct-to-film endings for no reason to come to think about it, which one party won't have access for several decades. Moving on. Not many rumors seem to happen during the show era. After all, how can someone document obscure fan stuff from like 40 to 50 years ago? Well, I guess we go over the few that did happen. There was a rumor saying that in the German dub of Godzilla vs. Megalon that Jet Jaguar was King Kong in a robot suit. In actuality, the movie was titled King Kong because, as I said, it was the more popular monster in time, and that attracted money. Remember how Frankenstein was sponsored over other titles as well, despite him never showing up at all? I wasn't wrong when I said pre-internet clickbait, There's also the myth that Baragon was originally going to be in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, but was replaced by Ingress because of him burying something Baragon does. Another misconception surrounding Baragon is about the story of all monsters, where Godzilla is weirdly burying to attack Paris, and a newsletter killing Baragon was attacking Paris, which is to some people speculating Baragon was originally going to be used first, but not used because his suit was too difficult to use. However, this isn't entirely simple. Maguma from Goroth was going to be in the movie, but was later dropped out of for Baragon. But was later dropped off due to his suit being not in very good conditions and after being used and modified by Tsuburaya Productions, and that Baragon's years would have ruined the scene. So Gorosaurus was brought on, and it wasn't a last minute addition said, it was actually very early on. Skipping ahead, we reached the late 70s to early 80s, at a time where Godzilla was pretty much dead. Terror of Godzilla was the lowest grossing live-action Godzilla movie, and with the ever-increasing low ticket sales, it seems like the Godzilla series was now done. This didn't stop the members of Toho from continuing with several scrap scripts and screenplays of several cancelled movies. There was also the time where Bagan came into existence at the time, known as Bakan. I think I said that right. No, he's relevant to the story and much later on. You see, an urban legend arose on the popular Godzilla website Toho Kingdom. The story goes that during this time of hiatus, one of these animated Godzilla movies was Godzilla vs. the Devil, a movie produced by Tomoyuki Tanaka in 1978 to revive the series after several Mechagodzilla's poor performance. The plot would have been about Godzilla facing several demonic creatures and finally the devil himself. Yeah, there's not much to this. Just really a simple outline of the monster side of the story. Even Toho Kingdom's host admitted to continue the misconception. Despite it never existing, it did come from somewhere, that being a misread script in the unmade movie Bagan would have been introduced in. Codename Godzilla vs. the Devil. Consider Bagan was going to take several formats in the film, which could have been the inspiration for the demonic monsters from Godzilla would have supposedly fought, but Bagan swore in the film being interpreted as the devil himself. This wouldn't be the last time Bagan would be involved with the hoax, just not right now. For the next video, this is where the rumors, hoaxes, and misconceptions really speed up. First off, there's the rumor that Godzilla 1985, the American dub of The Return of Godzilla, was originally going to be a comedy. This stems from a rumor of New World Pictures supposedly to edit the film into a comedy for its American release, with Roman Burr, like the only person at the time in America to take Godzilla seriously, insisted to take it seriously. While the last part is true, there's no evidence the entire film was going to be a comedy, just with comedic lines edited by characters like Major McDonald, I don't know how to pronounce that, played by Travis Swords. So while Burr did take material seriously, there's no evidence for this original American dub. Move off to another misconception, and oh boy, it's going to be a nuclear headache. So Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah's time travel plot is an absolute... and it makes no sense. It's a go with the misinterpretation. So it goes that the time travelers that go back to 1944 to remove Godzilla's source from Lagos Island, never to supposedly mutate into Godzilla. Many thought the Futurians' actions erased the events of the 54 Godzilla, the Return of Godzilla from 84, and vs. Biollante, and a new Godzilla was created that led to new movies in the 90s going forward. However, since it was established that the 1954 Godzilla and the Heisei Godzilla are separate and therefore its events wouldn't be affected, not to mention the events of the previous two movies are still mentioned, the characters still remember Godzilla, and this Godzilla is already mutated when they tried to mutate him again, so in the 90s Godzilla is the same Godzilla from the movies from the 80s. But his mutations happen later on instead. This whole situation is so complicated that even Godzilla even struggled with it. Well, Godzilla did finally uncover the true answer and simplify it to this. Timeline 1. The second Godzilla appeared in 1984, returns in 1990, is weakened by the anti-nuclear entry bacteria, and never arises, which leads to Japan becoming a global superpower as said by the Futurians at the beginning of the movie. Timeline 2. Godzilla is removed from Lagos Island, mutated later on in the events of Return and vs. Biollante still happen unaffected. Eventually, Ghidorah arises and attacks Japan, where miscommunication to mutate the Godzilla sword mutates him further, stronger and bigger than before, where he fights and defeats Ghidorah, destroying the Futurian ship and then rampaging Japan, destroying it in the process. Timeline 3. Emikano, the surviving Futurian, goes into the future to recover Ghidorah's body and turn into Mecha King Ghidorah, brings him to 1992 to fight Godzilla, which leads to the rest of the Heisei series. Don't come at me with the paradox around Ghidorah and his cyborg counterpart. I had enough. Let's move on. So on to the real world. There was an urban legend that said veteran Godzilla director Ishiro Honda was going to direct Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, but sadly passed away and was eventually replaced by Takao Okawara. This originated from an out-of-context interview of Godzilla's suit actor Kenpachiro Satsuma, where a reporter where he asked Honda if he was going to direct a Godzilla movie, and he replied. But this is contradicted by the fact Honda had no interest in returning to the series, as he wasn't a fan of the encouraged Heisei movies, and he was like just joking. You could say Honda did a little bit of trolling. Rest in peace, Honda. Rest in peace. So moving back to America, when TriStar was exercising their version of Godzilla, that later resulted in Godzilla 1988. For some strange reason, some fans believe this original version was scrapped because Toho wanted Godzilla to fight a monster from their catalog, and TriStar was not willing to pay the rights and make their own monster, the Griffin. Of course, this isn't true at all. Why would Toho do this? Toho was willing to give the rights to Ghidorah, but TriStar turned them down as it was informed that he and Mothra were licensed separately from Godzilla. The actual reason was that director John de Bont couldn't agree with budget agreements with Sony and he later dropped out of the project, but Roland Emmerich later took over out of desperation from Sony and discarding the original script, which resulted into this thing. Moving on. Going back to Japan, where Toho made a 98 by making Godzilla 2000 in 1998, which was then quickly released a year later. Now, did this spark a little confusion with general audience who thought this movie was a sequel to 98? Somehow? Like, you have to look at both films, so they're not in the same universe. Also, fun fact, Orca's face is actually based on 98 Godzilla. Kind of like a gotcha. Like, yeah, look, the real Godzilla defeated your fake Godzilla. Yeah, okay, moving on. Another myth is that the 2000 Godzilla and the bigger years Godzilla are the same, which I can't blame from Disney to do like the same, ignoring the exposition stuff that this Godzilla was the 54 Godzilla. Yeah. Another myth or theory is that the 2000 Godzilla is Godzilla Jr. from the Heisei series, ignoring the fact that the 2000 Godzilla listened half of Jr.'s adult stature, and the movie never establishes to be to any continuity. Same goes to Final Wars with Goji, even though the movie explicitly mentions he awakened in 1954, while Jr. was born in 1994. Another misconception surrounding the Millennium Godzilla is that JK Godzilla is the undead, resurrected, possessed 54 Godzilla, rising from the dead to punish Japan. Sounds interesting. Well, about that, the movie never actually states that this is meant to be the OG Godzilla. Not to mention the character's dialogue clearly differentiates the two. So yeah, are we done identifying Godzilla incarnations? Please? Okay. Oh yeah, both James Godzilla and Heisei Godzilla, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 didn't die. Heisei Godzilla was paralyzed and James Godzilla is a little zombie. This is redundant nerd stuff. So what's next? Oh, this is gonna be a long one. So Godzilla exists as the next step in the evolution of mucking the hell of the 98 Godzilla. Technically speaking, 98 Godzilla is still legally called Godzilla in the release of 98 media releases, but it was stripped out of its status as a Godzilla incarnation. Final Wars director and producer Kidamura and Shogo Tomiyama finding out they were able to use him since Sony's rights to the character had just expired, so it was a hefty last-minute add-on to the movie, finally completing the Millennium's arc of roasting this poor dude. To prevent people's confusions, the creature was now branded as a different monster known as Zilla from 2004 and onwards. There was also a recent misconception surrounding Zilla that his trademark was expiring, leading some people to believe the character was being reverted back as Godzilla. However, in reality, the American trademark for the character expired, while the trademark in Japan was still active. Moving on. Also, back to Megan. Remember him? There's this video claiming to be a deleted scene from Final Wars featuring Megan. It does somewhat look convincing, especially with the lighting helping, until you realize this footage is from a tokusatsu series called Super Fleet Caesar X, with the monster's actual name being Rezus. Also, dude who uploaded this video claims that the show reused the footage from Final Wars. Yeah, no, we're not full, just stop. So, during another decade-long hiatus, the excitement for a brand new Godzilla movie was high, as G-fans were really wanting for a new movie coming out, and they did got it when literally they got the rights after some shenanigans after Bonner tried to make a spiritual successor to his movie. Delivered to Godzilla 2014 resulted in several hoaxes and misconceptions. Arguably, this one film has the most hoaxes and rumors out of any of the movies shown previously. So let's go through them. First off, we have this famous and pretty terrifying art by Jin Jun Dot. Was passed off as concept art. It wasn't. Another rumor was that the obscure Hawkmoodle seen during the trailer for G14 was Rodan, which led to the meme of #Rodan confirmed. Boy, I sure do wish I knew this movie existed sooner because I would have loved the hype train. There was speculation that the Shoshi-Ben made a cameo during Fenmu to the Rampage during this scene. If you look closely, you can see these two figures that does resemble the Shoshi-Ben. It does look legit until you realize these two figures are actually two firefighters, so no, they didn't make an appearance. Wait a minute. There's also one certain hoax on K-drama stars theme, an end credits scene of Godzilla 14 would have featured Mothra leading an army of Mutos. Did whoever write this ever watch any movie featuring Mothra? Yeah, this is a bust if you decide to watch the movie. So yeah, that arguably had the most misconceptions of any movie we had. Most of them were... Okay, moving on. So after the release of G14, Shin Godzilla was announced, which is weirdly in the version from 1988, where unlike the previous response was negative, it was a warm celebration of the character's return. Godzilla was here to stay. So Shin Godzilla was released, made a lot of money, got praise from everyone except Americans, but will there be a sequel? No. Yeah, there was rumors showing that Shin Godzilla 2 was cancelled despite no plans even being announced. Co-director Hideaki Anno ambivalent about it. The whole rumor just exists out of context interviews in this beautiful concept art by Koichi Tajima. The result is miscommunication surrounding Shin Godzilla being a mixotroph, organ they built to assimilate and mix different sources of energy and carbon. This was only an early English dub mistake, as the original movie states Godzilla is closely related to prehistoric marine reptiles. So we're getting close to the end, and let's look at the more recent rumors and hoaxes. Going to the anime trilogy, the only thing that comes to mind is this fake image for the design of Anigoji. Not gonna lie, the design is actually pretty cool, and I kinda prefer to the real one. Yeah, not much here to talk about. Moving on, yet again. King of the Monsters doesn't stand about a lot of hoaxes. There's just a bunch of leaks, like these and these and these. It seems leaks have seemingly taken over hoaxes on Godzilla's side. You could consider fans mistaking Skilla and Methuselah for Anguirus and Kumonga, but does that really count? Though Anguirus kinda is in the movie and Kumonga was in the concept art, so and also Gamera is there, despite not being a Toho monster. So finally we get to the more recent installments. Godzilla vs. Kong. There were a bunch of leaks. People speculated Godzilla was going to be it too because of Ready Player One, to the point that they even bothered hiding him during the trailers. There was also this speculation that Godzilla in the trailer was Mecha Godzilla, because Mecha Godzilla does this thing where he pretends to be Godzilla, even though it makes no sense in the context of this universe, which is somewhat abundant realism. Like, you're taking evidence from a movie where Godzilla turns himself into a magnet to TV Mecha Godzilla. Yeah, it's no wonder it never actually happened, and we're just felt silly when they thought it would happen. Except for me, because why would you be... Never mind. So yeah, there was a long history and timeline of hoaxes, misconceptions, and rumors surrounding Godzilla. It was interesting looking back how older G fans around believe what was true about the series, as there was this uncertainty to Godzilla in the West. But now with the age of the internet, these type of misinformation can be easily debunked with a browsing of a wiki article. So I hope you enjoyed this video, learned something, and take care.